Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into the Big Honker podcast. It is time we start switching gears. Turkey season's right around the corner. I know some of you crazy people are chasing snow geese right now. I don't envy you at all. But this podcast is brought to you by Pacific Calls. They've got everything that you're going to need for this turkey season. They've got pot calls, mouth calls, they got box calls, they got it all. Also, if you are in the Idaho area, April 26th, they are going to have their second annual turkey rodeo. Registration opens up March 15th. Get entered into that.
I may be there.
You might be there. Great guys over there at Pacific Calls. And if you're looking forward to this next waterfowl season, they got all of your goose and duck call needs. But for right now, let's go get those gobblers.
I'm going to bet you in the future you go up there and do a hunt that time of year.
I don't know about that. Also, use our promo code BHP25 if you're going to do anything with Pacific Calls. You can save yourself 25% off at checkout. Next, we are brought to you by Hemp Hill Farm. Getting old sucks. You don't have to deal with the ouchies anymore. CBD will help with that. We also have a promo code with them. BHP will save you money at checkout. I know Jeff likes the gummies. I personally like the salve. Whatever I've got aching knees, shoulders, elbows. I'm big into jiu-jitsu, Jeff. So, with that, you come to a little bit of bumps and bruises. So, I really like the salve. It takes away some of the pain that comes with an old man.
My trick is I take the roll-on, pop the lid on the top of it, and that stuff in it, man, is magic.
Rub it on, whatever you need. And use our promo code BHP. You can save some money. Next, if your coffee sucks, it ain't the duck. Dirty Duck Coffee. They have a coffee blend for whatever suits your fancy. They got morning wood. They got some highly caffeinated stuff, high velocity, suns up, guns up, Missouri boat ride blend. I kind of like the highly caffeinated one. Gets me going in the morning. So high velocity is where it's at for me right now. They've also got amazing apparel, t-shirts, hats, hoodies, all good looking stuff from Dirty Duck Coffee.
Merch is top notch. You're fixing to be at summertime where you're going to be doing this summer blend, aren't you?
Be doing the iced coffee again. Yeah, once weather starts warming up here in Texas, about 2 o'clock every afternoon, I'll have me a nice little iced coffee from Dirty Duck Coffee. Great stuff. The King Eider Cold Brew Blend. Check it out. Next, we are brought to you by the evil geniuses, Boss Shot Shells. It is not too early. Get your order in, and they've got a brand new dove load coming out.
Yep, the unleaded dove load. We will be releasing them sometime this summer. 7s, 8s, and 9s, I believe. Have more details coming soon, but it will be the Boss dove load. State of Texas, when you get on this thing, it's the way to go. Non-tox is the way to go. It's going to be a steel dove load.
Get that lead out of the environment.
Yep. Be price point right, competitive with everyone else in the dove business. Anyways, check out BossShotShells.com. They'll start having some stuff on the dove loads coming pretty soon.
If you need anything for waterfowl season, jump on board because the shortage is probably going to be real. So get your shotgun shells headed your way for this waterfowl season. BossShotShells.com. Next, we are brought to you by Dive Bomb Industries. Whatever you need, they got it. They've made silhouettes cool again. They've got all the species, Canadas, snows, specks. They've even got floaters out right now. All the ducks, pretty much all the ducks. And they got a couple goose floaters out. And they've even got a couple full bodies. So whatever you're needing right now, they're having the end of the year sale closeout. So if you go to divebombindustries.com, you can cruise their website, see what all kind of sales they got going on for the end of the year.
They got 50% off some stuff.
Yeah, take advantage of it. They got a lot of cool stuff up there right now. So if you've been waiting to buy decoys, now's a really good time because they're priced to move right now. Also, they've got Squad Fest coming up in July 18th and 19th. It's also going to be the grand opening party for their new headquarters. So make plans to come to that. We will be there with the Boss crew, and we look forward to seeing everybody. So check them out, divebombindustries.com. And up next, we are brought to you by the great guys over at the Looking Glass podcast. Logan and Rebel, they put on a hell of a show, so you need to check them out. Go to Patreon, head over to just type in Looking Glass podcast. There they'll be. You'll pay your little monthly fee, and
laugh all month long.
There you go. They got a bourbon review. They're a little bit on the conspiracy side.
My kind of guys.
My kind of guys. So check them out. Head over to Patreon, and then you can listen to them there. Next, we're brought to you by Mossberg. The 940 waterfowl gun, it never misses a beat, right? I've hunted it for the last couple of years. It's a great shooting gun. It handles everything that we throw at it. Whatever weather we have, and the West Texas sand will just eat through a shotgun. And it takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
The official shotgun for the Gold Star Dove Hunt. Guys, they do a great job, provide for the kids. Nothing better than a company that gives back to the youth of America.
So check them out, mossberg.com. And if you see a Mossberg on the shelf, put it to your shoulder, see what you think. Also, we're brought to you by Shin Gear. Listen, these guys never miss a beat. They've got incredible waders. I rock their bibs every single day. I am on the original set that I still have from 3 years ago, maybe even 4 years ago. Still holding up strong. The zippers are always the weakest parts on bibs. And for 4 years, I've ran these almost every single day, and I've not had a problem yet. So I'm in love with their bibs. Their jackets are phenomenal. I got a rule. I don't want to be cold and wet. And with Shin Gear, neither one is a problem. Their waders, they got a guarantee with their waders. As long as you stand in them, they will stand behind them.
Great customer service. Check out the new Grove boot that they have now.
A couple other things that are going to come out this spring. So check them out at shingear.com. Also, we're brought to you by MLR Graphics. Baseball and softball season's coming up. So Michael and his team at MLR Graphics in Breckenridge, Texas can take care of you. Whatever you need. Listen, summer's coming up. A lot of people get family vacation shirts. So if whatever you need, shirts, hats, hoodies, check out Michael at MLR Graphics right there in Breckenridge, Texas. Great guy. Up next, we're brought to you by Mallard Bay. If you have an outdoor adventure coming up, you need to contact the team over at Mallard Bay. Whatever it is, fishing trip, hunting trip coming up in September, whatever you're looking at booking, Mallard Bay can help you out. They have their list of vetted outfitters, and you can just type in on their website what you're looking for, when you're wanting to go, where you're wanting to go, and all of their outfitters come up. So takes the guesswork out of booking hunts, and they're great people over there. If you're planning another outdoor adventure for this spring, summer, or fall, head over to Mallard Bay. It's the way to go. Up next, we're brought to you by Mitch Hall Chevrolet. If you're in the vehicle buying market right now, call them up. 940-355-0460. Tell them what you're looking for, and maybe they can get you in a brand new Chevrolet. Listen, it's time. Spring's right around the corner. Who don't want a new vehicle? Call, do a little bit of price shopping, see what interest rates are. Have a little bit of fun with it. 940-355-0460, or you can go to mitchhallhaskell.com. Inquire there. Next, we are brought to you by Lucky Duck. There are predator contests all over the nation right now. They've got e-collars for sale. Help you call in that wary dog. And speaking of dogs, they have all of their kennels out right now. They got a kennel line. They're all 5-star crash test rated. So you can feel good about what you're putting your 4-legged hunting buddy in. And with turkey season coming up, they have collapsible turkey decoys. They all look great. And of course, they are spinning wing decoys. That's where their bread and butter is. So if you're needing a spinner for this coming waterfowl season, and also we hunt out of their 2x4 blind. Great products, great people over at Lucky Duck. Head over to luckyduck.com. Whatever you're chasing, they got something for you. Next, we're brought to you by Ducks Unlimited. They are the leader in wetland conservation. Ducks Unlimited conserves, restores, and manages wetlands and associated habitat for North America's waterfowl. There's not been another organization for the last 85 years that has done more to put ducks back into the sky than Ducks Unlimited. They put their money where the ducks are and where the ducks breed and where they come from. So they are a great company to be associated with, and they will have a brand new hunting show this summer, Memphis, Tennessee. Make plans of being there. We're going to love to see all you guys out there at the Ducks event. Last but not least, we are brought to you by Stanfield Hunting Outfitters. If you're looking for a waterfowl hunt this coming season or dove hunt, give us a call, 940-658-3172. Jeff will answer the phone, tell you what's available, and we'll get you on the books. We look forward to seeing you this coming fall and winter. That's it. Thank you for tuning into the Big Honker Podcast. And as always, watch for deer. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Lucky Duck. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
That's right. They got turkey decoys out. Turkey season's coming up, so if you need a new turkey decoy, check out Lucky Duck. Getting a new dog. They got kennels. They got it all.
And you're getting a dog here pretty quick, right?
Yeah. Getting closer every day.
Getting closer every day. You've gotten one though
Every
picked
day.
out, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I thought so.
I think for the most part.
I've had a lot of people reach out and ask me about that.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen. With us today from Great Bend, Kansas, founder and owner of Fowl Plains Outfitters, our friend Cody Crook. Are you in Great Bend or are you outside the town, some little small town out there?
Well, we're just about a mile east of town.
On
That's
the
Great
good side
Bend
of
then.
town.
Yep.
That's where all the money's at on that east side. You can't hide
Yeah.
that money.
Yeah.
No, we're out here by ourselves along the creek. There's one other house that's just a couple hundred yards away from us, but it's just us.
Luke's probably on the west side of town. We're slumming.
Luke lives in Hoisington.
Oh, that's a shithole.
Yeah, I mean it's a demo derby, mud run type of deal, right where Luke belongs.
Gotta love rednecks.
Oh
Luke
yeah.
would have been a good Texan. Anyways, we're talking about Luke Musgrove.
tried
He
to
worked
be.
for us for a long time, and he one of his favorite stories he told me. He's got a serious girlfriend right now, doesn't he? Okay,
No.
good. I can tell this story then.
The way you laugh.
yeah.
The way you laugh. No.
That was a big no.
Not at all.
Maybe tomorrow, but not yesterday or today.
Luke, when he worked for us, he went to Vegas. Took all his tip money, went to Vegas. And when he was in Vegas, he went to a strip club. I think it's him and Trevor. They go to a strip club, or it might have been Zach. Zach's married, so it wasn't Zach. It was Trevor. We'll just go with
Definitely
that.
wasn't Zach.
So anyways, they go to this titty bar and high dollar one. And Luke said, every time the girls would come dance, they'd dance for me and I'd tip them a little bit. They go, where do you live at? He said, I live in Kansas, because they just kind of ignored him. So finally he said, screw it. I live in Knox City, Texas. Oh, you're from Texas? Oh, I got a cousin that lives in Texas. He goes, people just treat you different when you're a Texan. I said, hell yeah. So good for him. Did you watch the Trump deal last night?
Oh yeah. I fell asleep about 10 minutes left, but I made most of it.
Donald J. Trump is a Texan. Has to be. He might not have been born here, but he had to have been conceived here because he acts like a Texan.
Or just a loudmouth New Yorker.
That could be a Texan too.
A hybrid of both.
Oh, I'm telling you, he made me smile so much last night. He puts it right in their face. He does. I mean,
If Trump was from Texas, where would he be from in Texas?
a West Texas guy for sure. He would not be an Austin or
He'd be
Dallas
a
guy.
landman
Fort Worth
kind of guy. Billy Bob Thornton kind of guy.
He'd be the guy.
Have you guys
Billy Bob
watched all
worked
that?
for. I've watched the first season. There's only been one season. I just watched it the other day in the last couple of weeks. It's a great series. Did you like it?
Yeah, I finished it here this last week too. But it's how realistic is
I think a
a
lot
lot
of
of
it
that
is.
stuff as far as the cartel goes.
I think the cartel is a real issue down there. My middle son Zachary had an issue. They had an issue down there when he was down there, and he ran a water company down there, and they deliver water to the well sites. And they had an issue one night that was pretty scary. Guys come up and blocked the road up, took the truck driver's picture, took his driver's license, took a picture of it, and said, "Don't ever come back here. If you do, we'll kill you and your family," basically. So
Wow.
there is really some of that goes on, but they're not attacking and blowing up oil wells. The government ain't gonna put up with that shit.
No.
Now,
Yeah.
now,
And
right?
this guy could have been wrong place, wrong time. Like, I don't know if they were trying. Nobody knows if these guys were trying to like knock off a oil worker in the middle of the night or if they were doing something else and he just happened to stumble upon them. That part of the story is still unknown.
Because when they're talking to him, and they got full tactical gear, look like commandos.
Yeah.
He hears a noise behind him, and these guys come up walking behind. They have shovels and they're sweating and shit. So they either buried a body or money. Now, my undereducated brother, I guess I could call him,
Overnourished, undereducated.
comes to me and he says, "Hey, we need to find out where Zach was at, and we can go down there and go find that and dig that up. It's probably millions of dollars."
Or a body.
So seriously, you want to drive down to Pecos, Texas, in the middle of nowhere on a ranch and steal the cartel's money? Have you lost your damn mind? No, hell no, ain't doing that shit. Dumbest thing I've ever had him say.
Do you think that the cartel owns any of the ground that they're leasing, or I mean, can you even trace it back to that?
Well, the thing is you can own land but not have the mineral rights. So, so the mineral rights, I'm sure the cartel has found a way to blend the billions of dollars they have into legal businesses, and I think season 2 we're going to see some of that. But the land that's wasteland. Have you ever been out there? It'd make a good ashtray.
It's Western Kansas.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
No trees, nothing. You been to Vegas?
Nope.
It's just it's like there's just nothing there. I mean, but it's underneath it is pure gold, and so I'm sure that they cross paths sometime on the way. The thing is, it depends where you're at. Just around Midland's a long way from the border stuff. I don't know that they're having a lot of. You get close to the border, then yes, I could see more of that.
Because you're still what, 4 or 5 hours from the border at Midland?
No, probably 2 or 3 hours though. Probably 2 hours at least.
So
or 3.
Wasn't it just last week some guy that owned a ranch in Texas, somewhere South Texas, stepped on an IED in his ranch?
Yeah, but that's somewhere along the Rio Grande, right on the border.
And that is a shithole.
Yeah,
and that's dangerous. Bad, dangerous. There's some guys that work for Kinder Morgan. A guy disappeared a couple of years ago down by Kingsville on a deer lease. They never saw him again, and I'm sure he drove up on something in the middle of the night and they cut his head off or some shit. I mean, they're vile, evil people.
Who was telling us?
Is there anybody running hunts that far south, or
there's
is it
no waterfowl down there?
Too dry.
There's a lot of deer hunting business. That's some of the best deer hunting in the world. You get to, they call it the Golden Triangle, from San Antonio to Laredo to back towards the King Ranch down there. That's great deer hunting areas. And yes, there's a lot of deer ranches that have problems.
Who told us the story? He was deer hunting on Christmas and he was in his tree stand and he was like on a sendero and he could see, half a mile or however long. They got all the brush cleared out. And he sees one guy walking in the middle of the sendero and he's got like a poncho on. And I think he's even got like a rifle strapped over his back. Big, like, sombrero type thing. And he walks in a straight line, basically right underneath this guy. He never looks up, never deviates his eyesight or anything. Walks a straight line right underneath the guy. And right as he gets underneath his tree stand and kind of behind him, he says, "Merry Christmas." And he kept on walking.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Wow.
But they have a lot of problems.
We heard that story, right?
Yeah, and I can't remember. Somebody that was hunting with us last year, and I can't.
Yeah, there's some crazy shit. I've got a group of clients from Louisiana that hunts in South Texas, and wherever they hunt at, it borders some really wealthy person's ranch, and he's got all kinds of exotics. I'm talking like orangutans, all kinds of monkeys that are just roaming around. And I guess 2 of these orangutans got out and they were missing for weeks or a month. And one of my clients was sitting in a box blind and that thing came up the steps and literally threw his ass from one side of the blind to the other. It's a wild story. And every time he comes, I make him tell it. But he ended up shooting through the blind door like 8 or 9 times and killed it. And then
we heard about
called the law enforcement.
Different one?
No. This is a different one. Clay was telling us a story in East Texas. A guy was sitting there on his phone before dark, and fucking gorilla reached in and grabbed his phone. He thought it was Bigfoot. Grabbed his phone.
Same type deal.
And he shot the son of a bitch, and he ran off. And they found the guy was running down the road, and the guy's like, "What are you doing?" I ain't fucking going back.
When he talked to the game wardens, they were like, whatever. There's 2 of them that have been on the loose for the last month. And the outfitter was like, "Well, are you going to hunt the rest of your 5 or 6 days?" And the guy said, "Absolutely not. If there's 2 of them motherfuckers out there, I killed one, so I'm done. There's one more out here somewhere."
This other one's got a
Those
grudge.
things are supposed to be strong as hell.
Oh yeah,
They got fucking 8-foot long arms.
Well, that and their feet are more more arms and hands, basically.
Yeah.
I mean,
all you got to do is watch Every Which Way But Loose with Clint Eastwood. And he's got this orangutan called Clyde that drinks beer and rides around with him. And he rolls around and shit with that thing. But when you see one and you see how, it's a movie, it shows him picking a car up to help him change a tire or some shit. Just how, and it wasn't picking the car up, but they're big, strong animals. You ain't fucking with. And a damn gorilla, you damn sure ain't messing with.
Yeah, I saw somebody was talking. It's easier for a gorilla to rip your arms off of you than it would be for you to take like a toddler and rip his arms off. It's easier for a gorilla to take a full-grown man and just than it is for you to do that to a baby.
Well, you saw that.
That's just another reason why Kansas is a hell of a lot safer than Texas, because that kind of wild shit doesn't happen here.
Have you seen Chip Empire on Netflix? We watched it a couple of years ago. It's really it's very sad. It shows that hierarchy of the chimps and how they live in the family clans and stuff. But there's some brutal bastards, I'm telling you right now. But I enjoyed the show, but it is very, very sad. And I highly recommend it. If you want to watch something, I would not watch it with little kids because I think they'd be crying on you.
Yeah, you get attached to the little shits.
But they eat like the
Really?
chimps will eat them little screaming, those little howler monkeys and shit. They'll eat them. They'll grab them and just pop them and just they're sitting there eating their arms and shit. That's a brutal animal. But Landman, I'm sure is a lot of it. It's like everything else is over embellished. But I enjoyed it. It was a good show. And Billy Bob Thornton is such a good actor.
I'm sure it's the same with Yellowstone. Like, I've never worked on a ranch. I've never worked on an oil rig. But, I mean, I'm sure there's truths, and I'm sure a lot of it, most of it is probably embellished.
I have enjoyed 1923. We started watching it, and I've enjoyed it more than I did Landman. I really have enjoyed it. I just, man, I'm in love with the way our country was built. And I'm sure it's embellished too, but man, I read a lot and I like reading stories of history and just everything that it took to make our country what it is amazing. You know, you imagine living where you live in 1860.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's no running water. It's just living off, go out and stay in your backyard for 2 days.
Oh yeah. I mean, you always wonder, I'm sure Texas is the same way, but you go through parts of Kansas and there's just ghost town after ghost town. And it just makes you wonder what those places looked like when they were booming, for sure.
Oh, I would love to see it. But you know, one thing that we don't have now that we did have back then is there was a lot of springs and water. We've taken a lot of ground.
Yep.
You know, there was more natural water to be had, but during the Texas Panhandle, when they would come across in the wagons going west, if they hit a dry year, those people would die. There was no water. On a wet year, the playas were full, so they'd have water. And what's bad is they could dug down 12 feet in the ground and got all kinds of water, and they just didn't know it. But that was a tough life.
Water's becoming, I mean, I'm sure it's different in Texas, but here where we're at, especially on the real estate side of things, water is starting to be worth a lot more than oil is, especially in our area. I mean, we're with Quivira, 12 miles south of us. The Audubon Society is currently working on cutting all of the irrigation wells in that watershed district back by 40%, just so that the marsh can maintain its water levels.
Well, they're trying that with out around Lubbock. They have a new law. They're trying to do away with all farmland. Was it?
I can't remember.
700,000 acres. It was a huge chunk.
Oh yeah.
And it got it done supposedly, and are buying all them farmers out, and no cropland at all.
So that's what they're trying to do in Quivira. They're trying to limit the farmers pumping water out. Is that where they're going to start?
So I mean, and it's evident. Like, you can go down and see it here in the next month when they start irrigating. The water levels will drop 1.5 feet, 2 foot in the marsh, and then come October, November, when they stop irrigating again, then the water comes right back up. But the water table is just so close to ground level down there that it's. I mean, the thing is, I mean, I can see it from both sides, but you know, their big thing is the migration and having a place for the birds to rest. But the birds are gone by the time the water draws down, and by the time they show back up, the water's coming back up. You know, so it's how much of an impact does it actually make? You know, I don't think much, but it's something for somebody to bitch about for sure.
Waterfowl hunting is not as important to everybody else in society as it is to us.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And we don't know. I don't know what percentage hunters of in the country, probably 5 or 10%, but people don't care. I mean, that's sad, but we are, you know, there's more bunny huggers than there are hunters probably, but the bunny huggers don't put no money back into stuff. Hunters, the reason we even have animals is because of hunting. I read just recently that are y'all on the Ogallala Aquifer?
Yep.
I've heard that it's going to be dry in 20-something years. I saw a deal the other day, talked about it will be bone dry in 20-something years. It's not replenishing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, water in this state, you get an hour, 2 hours west, and like if in Garden City, Scott City, Liberal, that area, if an irrigation well goes down and needs repaired, they don't even fix it anymore. It just sits and turns into dry land. I mean, there's pivot after pivot that have weeds growing up over the top of them just because it doesn't make sense anymore for them to even try.
Yeah.
We're going to start having more rain again. They NOAA cut out their funding on HARP. And whether people believe that they manipulate or whether or not, there's not going to be any money with it. So we're going to go back to normal weather patterns.
So now you're believing it.
I don't know. There's money spent on it. Why would they be putting that money in there if there's not doing something with it?
I know that, but so now you believe it.
I don't.
So you're saying because we've cut the funding, this is going to be the litmus test. If we have a wet spring and summer, you're going to be like,
if we have normal winters the next 4 years, yes, you're going to know they manipulated our weather.
Wow.
Yes.
I
really believe that.
I haven't thought about that.
You don't? You think I'm full of crap?
No. It makes sense. If we have normal weather cycles like we saw in the 70s and 80s,
probably 60s and 70s more than the 80s even.
Okay.
But whenever they started doing it,
that'll be an interesting hypothesis to see it play out.
If we have normal winter this year, starting this year, like we did before, we'll know that they were fucking with the weather for new green stuff.
But what if in like 6 months? Because what I've heard with all this Doge stuff is like, we're just trying to figure out where we're bleeding money from. And then we're going to start putting money back in some of these programs. So
we're not going to put weather manipulation. That's part of the new Green Deal shit.
Okay.
That's my point on the deal. That's why they're doing it. That's why if they can manipulate the weather, it was to try to push this new green shit. You know, cows are bad. Now we found out rice releases more methane than cattle. You told me that yesterday.
Told you that yesterday.
Yes. So they're trying to change the way we think. We buy stuff. We're not doing the electric vehicle mandates now. So
how does rice release more methane than cattle?
It does. It's proven fact.
I saw yesterday rice releases 12% of the Earth's methane, and cows or maybe America
12 and 9,
12 and 8,
12 and 8, 20%.
Rice crops release 12%, and then cows release 8%.
But the funny thing is if one volcano blows up somewhere, it releases more than we've done in 100 years of man-made shit. So
yeah,
it's here or there. But the weather manipulation to make things, because every time you see a politician, if a politician says something on both sides, they're lying to you. Everything's because of global warming. Everything. That's back to this green energy bullshit.
It is global. Rice cultivation accounts for about 12% of global methane emissions. This is due to the microbes that break down organic compounds released by rice roots. Science, baby.
Yeah, I never would have thought that. I mean, are the rest of the crops close, or is it just rice is way above?
I could probably look that up. So here's another little article. Rice cultivation, surprisingly enough, counts for I bet I could click on that. 12% of methane emissions. Growing rice requires flooded fields called paddies with staggering quantities of water. So evidently whatever that does, it releases methane into the...
It's the way the rice is done chemically?
It sounds like the way that they flood it.
Yeah. I wonder if wheat does much then.
I don't know. I could look it up. Percentage of methane per crop, maybe, and just do a little science experiment here. Do a little bit of research while y'all.
How are you guys doing on water in general down there?
Low. We have water still in our places, but we need rain. We're going to need a typical spring, and we're supposed to have a typical spring this year.
Especially with harp down.
Well, I'm not talking about the harp down. There's a scientist that does a long-term forecast. Last 10 years he's done it, and he's been pretty damn close, the best of any of them. He says it's going to be a very wet, dynamic spring, and so we'll see. We'll see. We have to have severe weather to fill up all our water holes. Same with y'all. You're not going to get by with a fucking 1-inch shower. You need a thunderstorm to drop 3 to 6 inches of rain with 75 and 80 mile an hour winds, hail, and all that other shit. You need that. Same as we do.
We're sitting. I mean, it's spotty across the state, but we've got our wheat crop going into the spring looks better than it has for at least 4 years.
Ours is terrible.
We had some big November rains that helped out a bunch, but I mean, it made it a motherfucker on the outfitting side of things, but it helped.
Yeah, we our wheat's terrible here. We need a bunch of rain. I don't know if it could save it. If we got a bunch of rain in March or April, it probably would do good. But we're like you. But if we have a summer and it's 115 degrees and the wind blows 20 miles an hour every day, we're going to dry up just like y'all are.
Oh, yeah.
But
it all leaves in a hurry.
Yeah, we're both dependent on spring rains and those September, October rains.
Yep.
Our wettest months are May and June and September and October, same as y'all are, and we need those rains. So we will see.
Yeah, we were dry as a bone until that last week of October.
Yep,
I mean, we had roosts that had dirt blowing across the bottom of them. And then we got a couple of good rains and everything panned out, but it was pretty scary.
I saw a deal yesterday that I saw a video of a solar farm around Paris, Texas. I think the town was called Hubbard, maybe. I can't remember what. I'd never heard of the town, but it was outside of Paris, Texas. It wiped out like 200 or 300 acres of solar farms. I wonder if those guys get paid on that, because you sign up contract. You're in the real estate business. If you sign on a solar farm and you're getting $2,000 an acre, if it wipes it out, do you still get your $2,000 an acre for 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, unless there is some sort of a clause in there, but anybody that's signing a contract like that's going to do it for the lifetime of the payment. So I'm sure, if a solar farm operator went to a landowner and said, "Hey, here's what we're doing," the landowner's going to have their attorney look at that contract. And if there's any sort of, anything out of their control as far as weather events that happen, I mean, they're going to make sure they're getting paid for it regardless, one way or the other. So they got to keep paying, I'm sure.
I saw a guy reached out to me the other day and it's been about a month or so ago. He lives in Arkansas, and he knew somebody that got $3,800 an acre.
Huh.
Oh yeah.
You own 1,000 acres. It's $3.8 million a year. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things. I mean, on the south side of Cheyenne Bottoms, they're still trying to get it passed, but they're trying to put in like a 8 or 9 square mile solar farm on the south side of the Bottoms.
Ooh,
and of course,
that won't be good.
No, everybody's, throwing they've been having town hall meetings on it for 2 years now. I doubt it goes through, but everybody that is on the bird side of things, or just, conservation side of things, they're all pushing against it. But the money they're talking about putting into it it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, guys that would be leasing out their ground and making, 10, 12 times more than they would farming it.
Yeah.
I don't blame.
It's hard not to make it make sense, but there's just a lot of pushback.
It's a 30-year deal too, because I have family that's looking at this right now, and it's a 30-year deal. Well, if you're late 50s, early 60s, it's not going to be like, you're just going to have that check basically until you die. So it's your kid's problem. What's going to happen after that?
I went to a meeting up here about not solar, wind farm stuff. And I don't like the wind farms, but I told guys, I said, you can't tell someone that owns land what to do with their property. I mean, you don't like looking at it, but if they's putting in a bunch of oil wells, you wouldn't say nothing about it. And you wouldn't. Mm-hmm. We got oil wells all over. I've never heard nobody bitch about pump jacks out here. And I don't like wind. I don't like wind farms at all. I can't stand them. I think solar's a bad deal too. But I'm not going to lie. If I owned 100 acres and the guy wanted to give me $3,000 an acre and give me 20 or 30 years and pay me $300,000 a year, Andy, you can figure out how you're going to haul that shit off in 30 years.
Right.
I would think in the clause that you probably can have in there, well, they will remove all the stuff after it's over.
I think this is just from my limited talking about this, I think they will take them off. But what I've heard is if it's farmland, a lot of the nutrients are gone because it can get so hot.
They'll be gone forever.
So what I've heard is it's a 30-year deal. They take everything off. And from what I understand, it's another 20 or 30 years before you can get some of the nutrients back. So you're looking at 60 years of that land being done. But if they put this on like pasture land and come in where it's just where you just graze your cattle out and it's trees and shit, and they clear all the trees and put them up, like you weren't planting anything on pasture land anyway.
They're making you enough money to afford what that land would produce for 60 years, extra, big time.
Right.
I mean, so if it's out 60 years and you're getting $3,000 an acre for it, and I keep using that number for some reason, but $3,000 an acre, and you're leasing your farming out for $70 or $80 or $150 an acre, well, it don't take long. You're way ahead. You're 200 years worth of payments.
Well, and every year you got to find somebody to sub it out to.
Yeah, that's a
right. And farmers, as we know, are getting harder, especially in our area. Like we got a lot of old farmers. So like, what's the farming landscape going to look like in 15, 20 years?
I know they're cutting out a lot of wind energy subsidies from the government. Trump says he's not paying for no more subsidies on that. And I think probably some of that's going to pass.
Shit, right now they've got, what is it, 20 billion that's froze right now through Citibank that it's supposed to all go towards that.
Yeah, I think they're going to but is solar going to get the same? I don't have a problem with wind or solar if it can stand on its own. But we shouldn't subsidize something that's loose. We shouldn't be paying $20 billion a year for an industry that can't do it on its own. To me, that doesn't make sense. Are they going to send goose money to us if we have a bad winter? No. So you shouldn't get that. So, But if solar can pay for itself and as much money as they're paying for it, I'm assuming it can. But me and Andy have talked about this before. You got a whole state in Nevada. You could cover that whole son of a bitch, 80% of the land out there in mirrors, and nobody would care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the term clean energy needs to go out the window. They need to consider it alternative energy for sure. I mean, I don't know about Texas, but Kansas is riddled with wind farms, and I mean, they're
clean.
They're anything from clean. I mean, it's they got oil running from the top of them all the way down to the base. You know, you'll see them on fire from time to time. I mean, it takes a lot of petroleum products to make that operation run. So
they had one cratered in Sweetwater, I guess 2 days ago, fell over. Storms hit it or something, I don't know, but hell, it's just a big mess, and then there ain't nowhere to do with it.
Yeah, you just about can't go anywhere in the state, at least from Wichita west, and not run into a solar farm a wind farm every 35, 40 minutes. And there's some pretty big ones now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, I want to talk to you about a really touching thing. You had messaged me and Andy. I can't remember what it was about the day of the airplane crash. You'd messaged us that morning about something. I don't remember what it was, and then you messaged us and said, "Oh my God, my hunters were on that plane crash." So you had a group of guys from Washington D.C. or Baltimore hunting with you, and they were on the flight that crashed, and you dropped them at the airport, right?
No,
or their buddies.
They had rentals. You know, they drove from the Wichita airport to here, and then they took them back to Wichita on the last day, and 7 of them out of the 10 got on the plane. 3 of them drove back because they had, all the guns, ammo, gear, mount birds, everything, but yeah, it was a tough deal. We were all obviously either at the house, at the lodge, at the guide lodge, whatever, and saw the news pop up, plane crash in D.C. that came out of Wichita, and we're like, surely not. Got on and looked at the flight logs, and there was only one plane that left Wichita going back to D.C. Exact departure time of when they were supposed to leave. I think it was like 5:12 in the evening, and yeah, it was a pretty rough deal. I mean, I think the guys that drove were just on the east side of St. Louis when they found out.
So what did you do? Did you call those guys that were on the road and ask them, like, is this true?
Yeah, at that point they had, Chase, which is the other half owner of Fowl Plains, he's from the D.C. area. He lives in Suffolk, Virginia, and he called, the group leader. Basically there was one guy that comes out every year. He brings 9 guys with him, whether they're coworkers or, they operate in the same industry, whatever it is. He called him to, check and see, hey, surely this wasn't them. And that, I believe, was his first knowledge of it happening. So then he starts making phone calls, and at the same time, he's getting blown up by everybody from back home, trying to figure out whether or not it was them. And yeah, it was a pretty rough deal for sure. It's one of those things that you would never think about happening, but I guarantee you getting on a plane in the future is something that'll always run in the back of my mind. And I don't know why, but it seems like since then, I'm sure you guys have noticed it. I don't know if they're just trying to make a bigger deal out of it than what it normally is, or if all of a sudden there's all these plane crashes. But since then, it seems like there's 2 or 3 a week that are on the news.
I think they're making more out of it because the numbers are actually lower than they were the year before. But I'm going to tell you, I don't like to fly, and I fly a lot. I do not like flying. I don't like taking off. Once they hit that bing, you can walk around the cabin, I'm fine. My heart, I bet if you had a heart rate monitor on me, mine goes right to normal as soon as that thing dings. Because an old pilot told me a long time ago, if them stewardesses up, everything's great. So as soon as I hear that ding, I'm fine. I mean, completely. Landing does not bother me at all. But the last 4 times, I've flown 4 times since that incident. All 4 times going in landing, I think different than I used to. It's been in my mind because of that.
Well, and I mean, and then there was one I saw, a plane had to lift back up because a plane was like intersecting it where it was going to try to land. So they have to hurry up and lift back up to avoid this plane that's
I think
just
that was
sitting
in
on the
Kansas
runway.
City. I saw that too. The Southwest Airlines
Yeah,
or whatever it
Southwest.
was took off. That guy's done a good job. Someone had a private jet had got on the runway.
But I
And
mean,
went
it's
across
just
them.
something you don't think about is smacking into something else that's already either below you or on the ground already.
My heart breaks for those
Yeah.
families. And I'm gonna tell you what's really really tough. It's got to be those three guys that didn't.
Oh yeah.
Didn't go on that flight.
Oh yeah.
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 Their
Yeah,
last days.
They were getting blown. They were getting blown up. You know, their phones were ringing nonstop the whole way home. I'm sure they had another 13, 14 hours to drive, and then you get there and you've got to go to, 7 different funerals for people that you consider best friends or family. I mean, it's I couldn't imagine.
And did they have?
I mean, it affected us. I mean, it hurt us in a way that, these guys have been with us for several years. They always come the same dates every year. This year they decided to stay for 6 days instead of 3. You spend a lot of time with them, and then something like that happens, and it just kind of blows you away. But I couldn't imagine, being those 3 guys that drove home. Couldn't even imagine, couldn't even fathom
Did
it.
they have all of the guys on the planes? Did they have their stuff in like the U-Haul, or did the guys?
No, so, I mean, it was all in the back of a truck. They had a 3/4 ton Chevy and with a tonneau cover on it, and they just packed it in.
But they had
as tight as they
had
could.
those guys' guns and bags and
had to
and
deliver
camo,
them to the
and had
family.
to deliver
Yep.
that.
They had to take them all back, and
That'd be a hard deal. I saw a picture of one of the young guys with his family and his dog and his little kid. I thought, man, you just don't ever know. And
Yep.
well, it's a horrible situation.
And I've never had that happen where like somebody died unexpectedly that I was just talking to. I've had people die unexpectedly, but not somebody that I had just talked to that morning. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like that's
Yeah, I mean, these guys were here for the last 3 days of duck season, and then the first 3 days of goose season. So, I mean, you're cutting up with them every night, all day long, whether you're in the field with them or eating dinner at the lodge, whatever it is. And it's especially when you've had them for several years. You look forward to them coming back every year. Just based off of stories and memories in the past, and going forward, it's going to look a lot different.
Yeah, things are different. Which we've been doing this a long time, so I've got lots of groups that have lost people that have died that hunted with me. Lots. Every year I have, somebody will call me and say, hey, I had a guy this year during dove season that hunted with me every year. Super guy. I visit with him all the time. I really enjoyed him. And a kid from Knox City, he worked for him as a salesman, called me this summer early in the morning. I was like, I wonder why he's calling me. And he said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, he passed away. They found him. He had a heart attack and just died, right? And I thought, man, it just sucks. You think about it. And then the group gets here and you miss him being there and stuff. And it's a tough deal. It's going to take you'll never forget about it. And it'll be your last, 30 years from now, you're going to be telling the story about the guys that left that got killed in a plane crash. But those 3 gentlemen, that are buddies, I can't imagine them every time they go hunting in the morning. That
Yep.
They'll never ever go on a hunt and not think about their buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Never.
Nope, never. Yeah. I mean, you're sitting there that night as it all happened, watching the news and watching the videos. And I still don't know if they've figured it out, why it happened, how it happened or what, but it's sure, I mean, it just doesn't look good. I mean, it looked like that helicopter flew straight into it.
Yeah. It looks like it was on purpose. It does.
It seems that way.
Yeah, I think anybody that watched that, we'll never get any definite answers because of like everything else in America. There's nothing ever can be just cut and dry. There's always an opening for a conspiracy, and they scrubbed that lady's Facebook and all her stuff. Why do that just brings more attention to it? But it's tragedy. I pray for those families. That's a horrible deal. And afterwards, the amount of people that reach out, trying to offer help. I think between the 3 fundraisers, there was several $100,000 that were raised, $600,000-$700,000, which is not enough to get them, and not enough to do them any justice, which I'm sure that they'll, get money out of it down the road. But I had farmers, 3 or 4 different farmers that
either I had sent lease payments to recently or hunted on earlier in the season or in the years past. And they're like, hey, next year, don't pay us for your day leases. Put that towards these families. Or I had a guy that they had hunted on, let's see, they were here like Wednesday to Tuesday, and they had a dry field duck hunt on a guy southwest of us, about an hour south of Great Bend, and they had a good hunt. I usually send out my lease payments either the evening that we hunt on them or the following day. And I got a handwritten letter in the mail. Let's see, it would have been 2 days after they left, 3 days after they left. And it was a copy of the check with like a handwritten note saying, hey, we saw the news, keep this money and put it towards them, in the future. We would love to work with you, but we're not interested in taking your money at this time.
That's really cool.
That's nice. I looked when it first came up. I think somebody shared it on our podcast page. Somebody asked me, and I said, "Yeah, that's fine." And they shared it, and I looked at it, and it was like $130,000 or whatever it is. And I gave some money, and I thought I went back like a couple hours to look to see, and shit, there's like $100,000 more dollars in that thing. I was like, "Well, good deal." I'm glad.
Yeah.
It makes you feel really good that people will help. It really does, and it's tragic. Those families could use that money that they got. I'm assuming the airlines are going to pay. They're going to get a big settlement, probably from the United States government, since the helicopters.
Yeah, right.
There's going to be a bunch of big lawsuits on there. I think that.
Yeah, I saw one family, which they weren't part of our group, but there was I think it was a husband that was on the plane from D.C. and his wife was. It was before all the funerals were over with for our guys. His wife was suing. We're trying to sue the government for $250 million.
How much?
Just because it was
$50 million?
$250 million.
Ooh.
Yep.
Well, they'll settle out of court for probably $10 million.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what the price is of a life.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you right now, $250 million. I'm gonna put your mom on every plane they go back and forth all the. That's a ton of money. I mean, that's a ridiculous amount on anybody's life. But I mean, I think if you got $5 or $10 million, I think that is very.
Yeah, but how do you quantify it?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Someone your age is worth a whole lot more than someone like me is. A young person. I mean, if you looked at it that way, you got a lot of life ahead of you. I've had a great life. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go anytime soon, but I don't think my life is worth $250 million. But you ask for that much, and if
those insurance companies and lawyers, I mean, they've got a price on it. They know what it's worth.
Oh.
I mean, whether it makes sense to us or not, they've done it before.
Oh, that lawyer that's getting that deal right there, he's going to get 30 to 50% of that money. We asked for $250, and they give us $20 million. I'm making $6 million off this. I'm pretty happy. Anyways, that's a sad deal. It shouldn't even come down to money and stuff, but. Hopefully those families will be taken care of by the airlines and the government, whoever's fault it is. And it's a tragic deal. And you can't put a price tag on it, but $250 million is pretty damn.
How much longer did you have to hunt after that?
That was the last day of season, wasn't it?
Well, they hunted the last 3 days of duck season and then the first 3 days of goose. We had 3 more groups after that we ran that were just goose hunts. So I think we finished out on the 10th or 11th of February. And that happened on the what was it? It was the January 31st or February 1st, something like that.
I'll never forget that text from you because I can't remember. Me, you and Andy were on a group text about something.
I can't remember.
And then you said that, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I told Michelle, I said, "Yeah, it's 2 times this year that I've had 2 things that someone messaged me. You and my excuse me, Justin Hill messaged me when Donald Trump got shot. He goes, "They just shoot Trump in Pennsylvania." And boy, then you're panicking and turn on the TV and. I was like, oh, shit. And then I saw him stand up. And I thought, thank God he's okay. But that's 2 things this year that I've had, just really things I won't forget.
We were talking about, you had listened to the Oklahoma Shit Show podcast, and you were talking about how...
the other outfitters.
Kansas is kind of blowing up.
Yep. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's a mess, man.
Because we talked for about 15 minutes. It was back and forth. And then, boom, 3 hours later or something, we get that text from you.
Mm-hmm.
So how many... You said... I'd have to look at you said there's 4 in your area now?
Yeah, I would say 4 within probably 30 minutes of Great Bend. You start venturing out and you get over towards Hutch, like where Ben and those guys are at, there's even more. But in our area, it seems like every year there's 2 or 3 more.
Are there any sort? Is there any sort of legislation in Kansas to kind of curtail some of this? The outfitters popping
not
up
right
everywhere?
now. I've spent the last 2.5, almost probably 2.5 years going to meetings with Wildlife and Parks Commission. We used to have an outfitters association in the state. They did away with it, and now they're trying to, or I shouldn't say they're trying to bring it back, but a group of outfitters is trying to bring it back. And it all boils down at the end of the day that it's all revenue driven. Anything that involves the state, the more revenue brought in, the better. And I think we'll have a pretty hard time getting any control on it, but it's just getting to be a mess. I know I've heard you guys talk about Lubbock and that area down there, and know guys that have guided in that area, and it sounds like we're not as bad as they are down there, but it's just these young kids come in with, family money, and they want to do it because they just like to hunt. They look at a map and they see Cheyenne Bottoms and Quivira spaced 12 miles apart, and they're like, well, shit, why not? And I'm sure we do a lot of it to ourselves. This day and age with social media, you've got to at least put some content out there, to stay relevant. So, I'm sure like last year we had, not this season, but the year before, we had probably the best goose season I've ever seen. And we put up, quite a few big numbers throughout the year. And you look back at all those posts that you put on your social media, and you're like, I bet we're doing this to ourselves. These kids are looking at this and seeing like, hey, it's got to be easy. Why don't we all go do it?
Yeah. Internet scouters.
I had a conversation with a guy today that's on one of the committees, waterfowl committees in Texas. And I asked, because we had a group meeting, a Zoom meeting type deal in Austin where you could go down and you could do it over Zoom. Excuse me. And there's probably a dozen outfitters from different areas in Texas there. And I go, are we having another meeting or anything? Because I hadn't heard nothing else. He goes, I think that's all dead in Texas.
Having meetings?
The outfitter's license in Texas, I think, is dead. I think I think it's been squashed. The state. And one of his things he said was, he goes, what are they going to do with the money? We've got $50 billion of surplus in our budget. And they was going to put that money in the general fund. He goes, why do we want to give the state more money to do nothing with anyways good? And I agree with him on that deal. Where Oklahoma, they've gone to extremes. Oklahoma is going to pass their deal. It's like $2,000 per guide. And I was told, I haven't read all the legislation on it, but I was told by a guy in the know, and I don't know how much he knows, but he said, if you work for an outfitter, if you work around the lodge, anybody that partakes in the hunt or work around the lodge has to have that same $2,000 license.
Maids, house cleaners, cooks.
And that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and I honestly, I wouldn't have any issue paying that for, we've got 14 or 15 people on staff throughout the season, including guides and cook staff and everybody. I wouldn't have any issue with that, paying that amount if it meant there was some sort of control on who could come in and who couldn't come in,
But see, that's not what it's
our
about.
local game warden. Yeah. No, it's not what it's not what it's about.
It's not about keeping people out. It's about the state making more money. I don't have a problem with people being accountable. I don't have a problem at all with that. But I think that the money thing, all you're going to do is give the big outfitters a huge advantage over the little outfitters.
Yeah.
What if they go to $10,000 per guide? Are you going to pay that?
Yeah, not if there wasn't some sort of control on the outside.
So you're telling me that if they charged you $140,000 a year, you'd be okay paying that at to Kansas, the state, so you could be hunting guide?
I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that, but I will say if there was 3 less outfitters or 2 less outfitters in the area, I could run, 2 more groups.
Right, but there's somebody else who's going to take their place. See, that's what I'm against, because I'm a big outfitter. We run a big operation. I don't want to pay my state $10,000 or $20,000 a year in extra tax dollars that I get nothing out of. Make them have liability insurance. Make them be accountable. A few things. And you're going to weed those people out anyways.
Yeah, but you're also not in an area like Cody is. Like, that's what Cody's saying is that it's gotten so out of hand with the other outfitters. And
I've went through all that, though.
I know that, but to him, to Cody, it would be worth paying that money if it would cut down on some of the shit that he's got to deal with on a day-to-day basis,
I don't-
where you're not in that position.
I don't think it will cut down. I think it will be just another trust fund baby will come out there with more money, and then your $2,000 is going to be $10,000, and then your $10,000 is going to be $20,000, and that's what I think we're going. That's the road we're going. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. And once
if we could ever get it to a point to where there was a certain number allowed in each area, you know, like Canada's got zones or units, whatever they are.
Right.
If we could ever get it to a point to where, you know, there was never allowed to be more than this many outfitters in a certain area, then it would be worth it to me. But if it's going to be money based, then these kids that are coming in, I mean, it's not their money they're dealing with. They don't care what it costs.
That's what I'm saying. That's what it's going to come up to. Plus,
You don't think it would do as much just because it'd be another?
No, it'd just be
rich kid.
some other rich kid coming in there. It's capital. If we're going to have capitalism, we need to have capitalism in our country.
Yep.
And by controlling how many things are here and there, it's not capitalism. And I understand each state should have a deal. Hey, we don't want out-of-state deals. If you want to work in Kansas, you'd be like South Dakota. They have some rules. North Dakota has some outfitter rules. I don't have a problem with rules, but I think when you make the rules based on money, you're dealing with a lot of jackasses that you shouldn't have to deal with.
Yeah.
Because if let's say Kansas does, and it's 10,000. You said you're okay with 10,000.
Let's go with 5.
Okay, let's go 5.
He didn't say he was good with 10.
Yeah.
Okay,
Don't be quiet about that.
Okay.
We don't want the state hearing
Yeah, you're putting
anything.
words in his mouth.
but $5,000, and you've got 12 people working for you, so you got to write the
$60K.
state of Kansas a check for $60,000. Okay, that ain't going to get you any more access to land. That's just going to let you run your business. That's it. You're paying $60,000 for the state for nothing. You don't get shit out of this. Nothing. Because the next guy, let's say Jerry Jones' grandson wants to get in the hunting business up there. So he goes and he writes grandpa's check for $60,000 or $80,000 or $100,000. He's still going to be doing the same thing. All you're doing is making your cost of your stuff go up and up and up and up. And what's the state of Kansas going to do with that money? Send it to Kansas City to some free fucking program for somebody that don't do shit.
Yeah. No, unless there's some sort of control on number of outfitters in each area, then it wouldn't make sense. But it's just getting, I mean, it's not like Lubbock, Texas, but our land leases, man, from the day I started, 10, 11, 12 years ago, compared to where they're at now is, I mean, I don't think can I pay more a day? Yeah. But if it gets any crazier than it is now, then, I mean,
are you working hard to make money and a living for your family? Or do you want to make money for the state and someone else? Because that's what's happening. Here's the flip side to this deal now. It's 5,000. Well, who owns all the lobbyists in every state? The people with a lot of money. So some lobbyist guy goes, hey, I think what you ought to do is everybody that has a hunting deal ought to have to pay $250,000 to be an outfitter. So
it's a slippery slope.
It is. But you're willing to pay $60,000, you said. Jerry Jones's grandson might be willing to pay $250,000 a year to be able to do what you're doing. He don't give a shit if he makes money or nothing. So the next thing
they can have at it. I'll sell dirt instead. Right. That's fine.
But that's what happens. So then your 4 outfitters in your area are all kids that can write the check for $250,000, and it'll become just a rich sport only. That's why I'm against the money part of the deal. I don't mind making it $500 a person. I don't have a problem with that, and I don't have a problem with you having to carry liability insurance. And I don't have a problem with them making you take CPR classes or a hunter safety course or whatever the hell that kind of deal is. You're going to get rid of the riffraff on that anyways. Because people that are just running meeting at gas stations that are telling people they're not hunting anyways, they're going to continue. They're going to do that anyways. But if they have to have a liability insurance once they get caught in Oklahoma, one thing that Oklahoma's in their legislation that I read, I don't know for sure about the maids and cooks. I was told that. I haven't read that. So anybody comes back at me on that, I don't know if that's true or not. But I did read that the fine can be 10 times what the license fee is. So if you get caught in Oklahoma guiding without a license, it could cost you $20,000. I'm for that.
I'm sitting that motherfucker out in jail.
No, you
when
won't
does
either.
that go? Does that take effect next year?
They're gonna, if they pass it, I think next month they're gonna do it. It's probably gonna pass. I've heard some of the big outfitters in Oklahoma hunt a lot of the representatives, and they've kind of got it in their pocket because they're wanting to weed out all the little guys, and they're gonna try to do it through this money thing. And I think it's gonna backfire on them because I think somebody else with more money is just gonna keep doing the same thing they're doing.
How many days is that?
$20,000 at $150 a day. So it'd be 6 days would be 900. 6 days would be $900. So basically you'd be 1,000 a week. So you'd be in 20 weeks, 5 months. You ain't going you for 5. I'm telling you, after day 3, you'd be calling me a mom to please come get you out of jail.
Shit.
Yeah,
be
you
a
would
vacation in there.
Yeah.
Come out, I have a whole nother racket.
Yeah, you'll have a whole nother holes, which you'll have.
I'd
run that.
Yeah, it would be a vacation compared to waterfowl season.
Fuck yeah. Wake up, it's shit.
But I am for some. They need to do. There's got to be something to fix this. We're lucky in our area. We haven't had a lot of problems. But you get down by Abilene. There's a bunch of guys at Sandhill crane hunt down there, and I think Justin told me there's 18 guys running crane hunts around Abilene. 18 people. They don't. It's not like that. It's not like west of Lubbock. They have a lot of cranes. There are 500,000 cranes probably out there. You can have a bunch of groups hunting them and stuff. But I just, man, it's a shit show every day. People are doing stuff like that, and knock on wood, we don't have a lot of those problems here, and I'm glad.
Well, I think what's happened here is, like I mentioned earlier, the amount of farmers has kind of dwindled down. So you're only dealing with a couple of farmers. So you're in with one, you got all their stuff. I think a lot of these places that have 20 different farmers, that's where you start running into so many people hunting, because there's different ends. Whereas,
and we're hunting in a 15-mile circle.
True.
You guys are hunting 100 miles. We drive.
Yeah, I mean, any hour and 45 minutes within the lodge in the perfect circle.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just about anywhere in that radius.
We hunted, would you say 90% of the days within 5 miles of my house?
100%.
Yeah. 90% of our hunts were hunted within. It takes me 10 minutes to get to some places. But I can leave my house at scout at 4 and go scout and do everything, or in the morning, and within 15 minutes I've needed to see everything I've needed to see. Now I'll sit and watch a little bit and stuff. Yeah. But usually within 10 minutes of my house is all our hunting. Now our lodge is 10 minutes outside of Knox City, so it's 20 minutes from the lodge. But we're very lucky in that area.
We are.
But it's a bunch of, there's not very many farmers.
I mean, these guys I've hunted on, I used to run a spray rig for the co-op, so I've either sprayed on their ground, worked on the irrigation systems, or hunted on them for 10 years. And I've got great relationships with all of them. I mean, I do my damn best not to burn a bridge with anybody on that side of things. But, we run 2 groups a day, and we've got enough geese around, November and December that we'll try to set fields for, 2, 3, 4 days. But now that there's all these extra outfits in the area, and with the way commodity prices have been, and farmers, it doesn't look the same as it did 4 or 5 years ago, just with their income. And, they're calling me and they're saying, hey, these guys are asking to hunt this field. And I'm like, well, we're planning on hunting it, but we've got our hunts lined out for the next 3 or 4 days for both groups. So it's going to be, 4 days, 5 days before we can get to it. And they're like, well, how do I turn $1,500 a day down for, the chance of those birds being gone by the time you get to them? So, in a sense, like, I don't ever argue it with them, because, they need the money, but it's gotten to be a business on the farming side of things as well. I mean, the geese show up in October and they're all calling me like, hey, they're here, they're in this field, and this field. And if you don't get to them fast enough, they'll let somebody else.
Yeah, that's tough. But I mean, that's capitalism at the end of the day. And I think a lot of farmers, that's kind of what we were talking about with that Oklahoma show. A lot of farmers have gotten to where the hunting is that bonus money. It's that vacation money. So
Christmas.
That's exactly right. So the more that they can rack up with that, I don't know, man. It's a tough deal for sure. What did you have the birds this year? Was it a pretty good year as far as like bird counts?
Man, probably one of the best top 2 duck seasons I've seen, duck numbers.
Nice.
But we also had sheet water in every section of the ground, within an hour and a half. Our geese, it was probably one of the worst goose migrations I've seen it. We had our speckle bellies like we always do the beginning of October. By the time opening day rolled around the last Saturday in October, we had, 80, 90,000 specks, quite a few Canadas and snows too, but they were here for 3 weeks and the specks were dickheads off the bat. I mean, you can only kill 2 of them in Kansas. So it doesn't take, even if they're dickheads, you're still going to kill your specks. But they were gone in a hurry. Luckily we had those big rains and there was ducks everywhere, but the geese was one of the worst I've seen for sure.
Why do you think the specs were assholes? Because this is what I've gotten from everybody. I got a call from a guy, and he was hunting in Canada in September, and he said, hey, specs are assholes. And then we got our birds. We started hunting in November, and they were assholes. But I've heard that from a lot of people that specs were just douches this year.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I mean, we started our season out on a full moon, which, guys can say whatever they want about the moon, but I've had really good hunting on a full moon, and I've had absolute dog shit hunting on a full moon.
Yeah.
More times than not, it's dog shit. But it just seemed like from the day season opened, it was. I mean, leading up to the season, they were in the same field. There'd be 5 or 6 fields that were consistent for a week and a half, and then season gets around, there's 10 spreads, across the board, and then from that day on, it was just inconsistent. I mean, you'd hunt them in a feed that they'd been in for 4 or 5 days. You'd go set up in it, and then boom, switch day.
It's the same thing that happened here. Exactly.
I don't understand.
We talked about this a week or so ago. There were not. I bet I could count the number of days that we ran purely traffic on like one hand. Like most of the hunts that we did had birds in it the night before.
Hot fields.
Like really good fields. You look at it the night before, you're like, okay, we're going to burn their ass tomorrow. And then they just, for whatever reason, they're just fine flying over you and going to the field next to you.
And we're lucky enough that we had enough property. We set fields. Like, we've got 3,500 to 5,000 birds here. We'll let it set for a day or so. We'll hunt it on Wednesday. This will be on Monday. And, we had that all year long. And I don't think the last 6 weeks of season we ran traffic one time.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a field yesterday, had 1,500 birds in it still. I don't know what the hell they're doing here still in March.
Yeah, we're holding a ton of snows right now, but the specs in Canada's are all gone.
I saw specks Sunday. I saw about 100 specks going to one of our fields. And I told Michelle, I was like, God dang, there's some specks right there.
I think if it's mild and it's a full moon, I think that's when the birds start kind of dicking around at night more. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Water's going to be open, so they just kind of mill around. They can still see well enough, so I think that's when they kind of start seeing what else is out there. But yeah,
right. I mean, you go look at warm
all year this year.
A good feed on a full moon. If you've got a full moon and you know where the birds are feeding, they'll start early enough at night to where you can figure out where they're at. But 2-3 hours after the sun sets, I mean, there's still birds that are showing up to that feed. By the time the morning rolls around, half of them don't even come back.
Yeah. Yeah, and this year was so warm, I think there were a lot of times where they were feeding on into the night, and then just daylight rolls around, you're out there, you feel good about yourself, and that first flock comes out, and you're like, well, fuck.
Yeah, thank God for the sheet water and the ducks. I mean, we had a awesome duck season as soon as the pintails left. And first 2 weeks of November, we had so many damn pintails that it would almost ruin a duck hunt. But once they moved out, then it sure shaped up.
Like what kind of ducks? Mallards?
Yeah, mallards, widgeons, mostly mallard. We shoot more mallards than anything, but there was so many pintails here at the beginning of November that, you know how it is, that you'd have a group of 200 ducks, 100 ducks come in, and half of them are pintails. Well, you can't afford to shoot into them. I mean, you can hope and pray like hell that your clients are picking out birds all you want, but 9 times out of 10, they're flock shooting. I mean, you just can't afford for them to, to shoot, to end up with something that they shouldn't.
Y'all are on one pintail also up there, right?
Yeah, it was federal, wasn't it?
I think so, except the West Coast, I think, was. Now they're talking about 3 pintails next year, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
From 1 to 3.
1 to 3.
That's like us. We went from 2 to 5 specs.
That's crazy to me that you guys can shoot 5. And I mean, if I remember right, Knox City's dead south of us on the map, isn't it?
Yeah, but we'll have a lot of geese we'll have geese before y'all get them. We'll have October 12th, we'll have 30,000 specs here. It's crazy because Luke and me used to talk about that all the time. Calendar birds come. But we don't shoot 5, we shoot 3. That's our limit. We stop at 3 birds. Now, this year we didn't have a lot of days we were shooting over that anyways. But
it was nice to have that buffer.
We had a couple of days that we had, we needed 7, 8 birds, and we killed 13 or 14 out of a flock. But you could let them go because it didn't matter because you had that buffer. I even told the game warden one time, I said, we're picking up, we got our limit. I said, well, we didn't get our limit. He kind of looked at me. I said, well, I mean, we got our limit, but we didn't get the state's limit. We're under that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
That-
boring. We got boring to check
tough.
because I mean, if you're gonna catch somebody with like out of hunter safety or a plug or something like that, like you're not gonna catch us over our limit. You're not gonna catch us over our limit this year. We're stopping at 3.
Yeah.
It'd have to
Do
be
you
a
guys
big
get checked
fuck up.
very much down there?
Regularly. I mean, it's not every day.
We talk to the game wardens. We let them know where we're hunting at. Hell, we don't have nothing to
I don't
hide.
have
Yeah.
anything to hide. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a good relationship with ours too.
seemed
We,
like I
we
got
got checked, I think, maybe 3 times this year.
I got checked more in January.
When deer hunting's over, they check us more because
Yeah.
it looks good on their logs. We
Yeah.
checked 60 hunters today. Checked 4 goose groups.
Yeah, see, our game wardens, like in our area or the majority of the state, 1 game warden will cover 2, sometimes 3 counties. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you come across one or if one checks on you, then it just happenstance that it had to be going by that day. But most of the time, they've got too much shit going on to worry about it.
Wonder do you think the pintails go into Mexico after them straight shot? Because you said you had a bunch of pintails. We don't ever see pintails here until January. So I wonder if they skip over us.
Probably and go to the Texas coast. The Texas
Just-
coast holds a ton of pintails.
Do you think they just go straight from
Probably.
Kansas to the Texas coast and
Probably-
then back up to us in January?
Probably go to Port O'Connor somewhere, Rockport or something. Probably a calendar birds down there.
Because it always seems like January is our month. We'll shoot the occasional pintail. I mean, I'm not going to say that we're
Yeah.
absent of pintails, but like you really start seeing the pintails in the fields in January here. So they must.
Yeah,
just
it seems
skip
like
right over
middle
us.
of October to middle of November, they're thick, and then they disappear till the end of January. That last split, they start showing back up. But yeah, I don't know. It's a pain in the ass. I mean, a big duck feed. You know how bigger groups they come in,
Mhm.
and if they're just mixed in with the mallards, it sucks to tell the clients like, hey, leave your gun down. We can't shoot into this group, but it's just the way you got to do it.
Yeah, it's funny. We bitched all year this year about not having ducks.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that y'all were holding them all, bastards.
Oh yeah.
Is that sheet water?
I'm sure Oklahoma was too. I mean, they seem like they always do.
I don't think they had their birds till late this year. I don't think nobody killed a lot of ducks until January.
Cody did.
Well, but I mean, in Kansas and Oklahoma,
Oh,
we didn't have ducks in November, December.
Ours was only because of the sheet water. I mean, you go in most of the areas we hunt in, there would be 3 or 4 sheet water lakes in each section of the ground. I mean, they could go anywhere they wanted.
yeah. I love it when sheet water's out there just because of the duck aspect. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we're mostly a goose area, but if you can shoot that 10-ish, 15-ish extra ducks first thing in the morning, I mean,
Yep.
you can have kind of a slow goose hunt and you've got that 15 extra bird buffer,
Oh, yeah.
and it's it doesn't take
And
long.
sheet water's nice once everything around the sheet water dries up. But when
Yes.
you've got that fresh sheet water and
Oh,
you're
my God.
you're marching spreads in. I mean, I've got a guy that works for us he's been guiding for 35 years. He's from Maryland. He's in his mid 50s and rock solid guide. Like he's seen about all of it. I mean, you can trust him with anything, but he told me as soon as that rain started falling, he said, "Hey bud, I'm a goose hunter this year. Don't forget it." And I was like, "Yes, sir." Because my guys were walking spreads in for a month.
I am fair weather as shit. We had that about the first 2 weeks of the season here, and it was rangering shit in, walking shit in, and my age started to show pretty
yeah.
soon. And like, cause I'm 37 now, and it's like, fuck, when's this shit gonna dry out? Like, I am way too old for this shit. My hips are hurting, my lower back's killing me, and
Yep.
it adds so much time. You wouldn't think like having to ranger shit out there would add so much time, but it does, because you got to have, most of the time here we'll have 2 guides per spread. Well,
Yep.
now all of a sudden you got to have an extra guide so that the 2 guides can start getting set up. One guy can be shuttling back and forth, and you got 2
Yep.
guys that are running shit in the field. But it takes up so much extra time, and then leaving the field's a pain in the ass because you got to shuttle all the stuff out, all the people out, all the birds out. And I mean, shit, there's times you're not getting back to the lodge until 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Guiding 30 years ago when we didn't have 4-wheelers and
Oh,
shit, and you carried shit.
I'm telling you, I realize I am very fair weather.
And Jeff and Tony were out there with the horse and buggy, just fucking going back and forth.
Tony was, Jeff wasn't. Jeff was smart enough.
Jeff guided a bunch the first 2 years.
Was it wet?
Um,
Nope. You'd have remembered.
No, I do, because I told the story about Shane Sherlock carrying the decoys. There's some times that we did. We didn't have as many decoys. We didn't have to hunt over as many decoys. There wasn't birds when they got here. They'd been hunted at all. Right. I mean, birds would get hunted in Canada in September and October some, but by November they'd been basically a month and nobody jacking with them. I mean, it just was a whole different world when I first got in the hunting business. I mean, they didn't see the same decoy spread from Saskatchewan all the way to Texas. It's just a different world now. The whole game has changed. And I'm sure duck hunting in Arkansas is the same way too. I'm sure 30, 40 years ago, duck hunting in Arkansas. I remember when the Mojo came out. Had a guy, Dave Reese, come here. He goes, look at this thing. And he showed it to me. I was like, what the fuck's that? He goes, man, it's a huge difference maker. I go, what? He goes, oh, you can't believe this. He goes, you just flip them wings on, them ducks fall right in on it. That was the first year of the Mojo. The first time I used a flag, I remember it. I was like a magic wand.
Andy, how many days a year are you in the field? Or are you guiding every day?
Yeah, not every day. I usually get a day or two off every week, but maybe 5-6 days a week.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm a lot more like Jeff. I think I hunted twice this year, and that's it.
Yeah,
I don't know anybody in the hunting business that hunts less than I do. Nobody. Because you'd have...
Yeah, I hunted twice, but I deal with...
That's two times more than me.
Anything that has to do with landowners, I deal with. Scout, all of our guides scout every day. So where they're going and getting them lined out, I deal with all that. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't have as much desire to go out in the field as I used to. There's just too much other shit going on. When I am in the field, my phone's blown up with guides. They're trying to get me to get them permission on this or that, or landowners are calling me and I'm having to talk on the phone all the time. So it's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's not an enjoyable experience.
I don't even pretend that I guide anymore. Not at all. Like if people ask me what I do for a living, I'm like, I'm a hunting outfitter. I mean, the podcast hunting outfitter. I don't guide. Yeah. But I don't pretend to guide. I don't guide.
You're a business owner.
Yeah. I mean, but I work.
I mean, it's no different than owning a restaurant. You're not, doesn't mean you're fucking back there
a chef.
cooking burgers.
But I go every day. Andy will tell you, I'm around every day, every morning. I get up. I know where the birds are. I watch the hunting. I know what's going on and everything. I just do not guide a hunt. And I have no desire, none, to ever guide a hunt again in my life. None.
Yeah.
Of any sort?
Fuck no, none.
Duck
Zero,
hunt?
none. I might go duck hunting sometime, but I ain't gonna guide. I don't want to. No.
Would you say that being in it for so long, has it ruined hunting for you in any way? Not necessarily ruined, but I mean, it's just not something that excites you anymore. Well, as far as being in the field.
Me or Andy.
Jeff.
Me. I'm naturally lazy. It's too much fucking work to guide a hunt. No. I still enjoy seeing birds. I mean, if me and Michelle are in New York in July and there's a bunch of Canada geese somewhere, I'm gonna stop and look at them and look at bands and stuff.
Yeah.
Me and Andy went to Canada a couple times. I enjoyed the hunting. I had a really good time, but there was no pressure on me. My phone wasn't ringing all the time. But that's the problem if I go hunting here, because I think I did go in the field one day this year too. I went with the grandkids the last day of season, and
we didn't have clients.
No, I know that. But the whole time I'm in the field, if I go, I'm worried about where the birds are going. Someone's calling me. Yep. The kitchen lady's calling me about something. Michelle's calling me about something. I've got too much other stuff, and so I worry about that all the time. If like opening weekend of duck season this year, I just saw the preliminary days, and there's a Saturday, Sunday that is the only dove season, only duck weekend. Damn cold, I can't get rid of this thing. The only weekend we don't have dove hunters. And if there's ducks here then, and me and Andy and the boys went out, I would go hunting and enjoy that because I don't have to worry about scouting or nothing else. But if it's Monday morning and I go on a hunt, we got to hunt Tuesday. I'm trying to worry about what's going on Tuesday. And if it's a Saturday, I'm worried about Sunday or Monday. So I got too much stuff to worry about. So I don't know that if someone come in and offered me a bunch of money and we sold our business for a lot of money, I would like to own me a place somewhere that had a water hole on it, a couple of ponds where I'd duck hunt with my kids and grandkids. I would like that. So I would still go hunt and stuff. It just don't care. But I have no desire to go set out a big fucking goose spread as a fun hunt. I'm way too lazy for that shit. I'll drive. If you tell me My guides, I told them last year I may go on a fun hunt. I said, but I'm telling you right now, I'm getting an executive hunt. I'm driving up 5 minutes before the hunt's over. One of you's going to ride my Suburban back to the road with me. I'm going to get out and walk, or y'all going to drive me up, and you're going to go park my truck. I don't care about doing any of that shit anymore.
Mm-hmm.
None.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's work for sure. It's not like it used to be when you first started.
No, but when I first started, I loved the hunting. I do. I loved it. I mean, absolutely. But I still love to see birds. I mean, I still have a desire and passion to watch ducks and geese. But you know what my biggest thing that I really enjoy doing is I love putting together groups of hunters. Like we do a Boss Steel Reserve hunt. And I love putting a bunch of people together. Last year I overdone some things, but we'll have 4 or 5 events at the lodge that we do. We're going to do a first responders hunt. I think I got 2 days in November. I can't remember. It's a first responders for firemen, policemen, any first responder. I've got a special deal for them. And we do 2 or 3 different veteran hunts that we do. And then we do the Boss Steel Reserve hunt. I love putting 2s and 3s together, one singles, and putting groups of guys together. I enjoy that. And I love being at the lodge. I love being I'm not a mayor no more. I was for a long time, but I love going, and Andy will tell you, I go to the tables and I visit with everybody all night. I get to tell my stories that everybody around here has heard me say so much. So I get new blood to tell same old stories too. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Show pony.
Yeah. I like
show pony.
But that part I really, really like doing. I like standing up in front of talking to people at the lodge. I tell them about my grandpa's flag at the lodge. And there's things like that I enjoy, but to go hunt, no, I don't. Too much damn work.
He would make us go talk to the clients, and then we're in the middle of our spiel about what we're going to do for the next couple of days, and then he interrupts us to tell his shit.
Yep.
So just give me fucking 3 more minutes, and then you can talk about your grandpa's flag.
By the end of the year, I got where I would say, are y'all finished? And then I would go talk.
I just couldn't. He'd be like, all right, now y'all get out there and talk to your clients. So we're talking to our clients. Attention, everybody. Attention. Spotlight over here. Microphone. Mic check. Mic check.
The clients,
story time with Jeff.
The clients like listening to me a lot more than them anyways.
Andy's just trying to get out of there and go home.
I'm just trying to fucking tell them what time they're going to wake up. Because if I don't do this now, they're going to start looking for me.
Yeah. And we got a system, and Michelle would get on to me. Jeff, let them do they're bitching about you again back here. So then at the end of the year, I got where I'd let them do their stuff, and then I would go talk to the people.
You did much better, Jeff.
But if I go talk to them first, they ask me a question. Well, how are we hiding? Are we doing this or that? And I'm like, well, hold on now. I'm going to screw something up here because I'm going to tell you the wrong. I think I know what we're doing, but I don't want to screw that up. But I let the guides talk, and then I'd go visit with them because I like visiting with my clients. I do. And we've got clients that have been here for over 30 years, and I got new groups here, but I still love to visit with them.
Just a show pony. How's everything looking for this next year? I guess you're going to have to wait and see what the rains do.
Yeah, I mean,
books okay
right now we're looking good, but we've got a lot of heat ahead of us to go through, so we'll see what happens.
Books are looking okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we should be pretty full here. Usually by the end of May, we've got everything done for the following season.
Yeah, I just worry. The economy's got me a little concerned right now. Just, we've talked about it. I think there's going to be... I
think September things will loosen up.
I think it's going to be a little tough for a while until we get all this tariff stuff kind of situated and everybody not freaking out. I think a lot of people are just kind of freaking out about the unknown right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, just... We're all basically... Anything around here is probably the same as you guys, agriculture based or oil industry based. And right now, both industries are kind of up in the air. I mean, oil, those guys should be excited for what Trump's got to say. But, the farmers, there's just a lot of unknown right now.
I talked to a guy that's a farmer and he's in the oil business, big time in the oil business this morning. We was talking about the speech last night, and he told me that the big oil companies are not missing a lick. They're going to be going full bore. He said the smaller guys are still nervous, and it's just going to take a little bit to get them going. But once they get going, they're going to go. And especially if they do some deregulations. And so living in Texas, West Texas, we do a lot of oil field business when the oil's booming. So I think things will be good. I think everybody in Texas, I think we'll see a big change late summer. I think nationally it's going to be in the fall when we'll start seeing people really loosen up. But what people have just, this tariff deal Nobody likes to pay more money, and everybody listens to this knows I hate fucking taxes. But when we start building things in our country again, things will really pick back up. We may all pay 10% more for a product, but it'll all be American made and we'll all be making more money. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for the changes. We needed to do what is happening right now in the world. We need to drain the swamp and talk about this shit. Everybody knows that we've got rich politicians that are making $200,000 a year that are worth $200, $300, $20 million. Some of them $300 or $400 million. We all know it.
Yeah.
We all know they're crooked as shit. And we're finally going to do the things our whole life they've talked about cleaning up is finally getting done. And there's going to take a lot of, it's going to be a lot of change coming, but it's for the good. And I'm telling you right now, I'm predicting this. The first person to get arrested that's a Democrat is going to be Stacey Abrams. They're going to make her the lady from Georgia.
For what?
She's got $1.9 billion is what she got last year. And she's going to have to answer to where that money went. And there's no, they're going to, I'm telling you, they're going to fry her ass. Someone on both sides is going to get fried. And the first person to start telling on everyone else is going to be the one. It's a big race to see who can tell on everyone else to save their ass.
Maybe Stacey will do it.
Yeah, wasn't Stacey Abrams tied back to one of those nonprofit green energy groups that got a big chunk of funds?
Yeah, they gave 4 groups. No, they gave 5 groups. They gave 5 groups $2 billion and told them they had 90 days to get rid of it. How the hell can you get an average person get rid of $2 billion? Yeah, I mean, you think, well, that'd be fun as hell. Yeah, it's impossible.
I could do it.
No, you couldn't do it. Shit, there's no way you could do that.
Shit.
But anyways, someone's going to be the scapegoat for it all, and it's coming down the pipe. She was instrumental.
Have you seen how much hunting land is? I could get rid of $1.5 billion.
They're not buying land and shit, though.
I'll sell it to you.
There we go. But see, this is how it starts, Cody.
Yeah, this is it.
There.
I don't know. I mean, it makes you wonder if we'll ever find out about it. You know, everything got ramped up about the Epstein stuff or the JFK stuff. It seems
that's coming.
Are we going to hear anything about it?
Here's my bold prediction. Not one person gets arrested for Epstein.
I'll bet you $100 bill on that.
I will fucking.
All right.
Right here.
Okay.
Ow,
I just
ow,
read.
That's my finger.
I just read right now they arrested a congressman from Connecticut on the Epstein shit. No, it's coming though. The Epstein stuff, JFK, all that's going to come. They're going to arrest somebody on that deal.
0.
And I'm going to tell you what Stacey Abrams is going to get in trouble for. You're going to find out that Herschel Walker should have won that Senate seat in Georgia, and that there was a lot of election fraud and stuff, and she had a lot to do with that, and she paid a lot of people on that deal. And that's the difference between if Herschel Walker wins, the Senate would have been controlled by Republicans at one seat.
Well,
we'll see what happens. Anyways, Cody, we appreciate you being on here, bud.
How's the turkeys looking real quick before we let you go?
Looking better. Looking a lot better than they have been, yeah. Hatch numbers are substantially bigger than what they were in the last couple of years. Just have to hope they hold on.
Yeah. Had y'all been dry the last couple of years? Is that what you think is driving the turkey decline?
Yeah, I mean, we had a mixture of, untimely big rains in the spring where hens were having to hatch 2 or 3 times just to try and, get at least one successful hatch.
Yeah.
We would get big rains and anything that roosted along the creek or the river, they would get washed out. And then there for a while we had the avian pox. I don't know how widespread it was, but I definitely myself saw several flocks that were affected by it. So it seems like all that's kind of quieting down. I know just judging by my trail cameras, friends' trail cameras, the turkey numbers are coming around from big time from where they were at the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's good. I think ours are turning around also. We had a lot of timely rain last year. I think when the hens had already hatched. So I think a lot of that underbrush was there, bugs were there. They could hide their their little birds. So I think this year will be pretty good. I hope.
Yeah, and then they've done a lot they've opened up a lot of regulations on nest predators like coons, as far as trapping, calling, shooting, whatever that looks like. So anytime you can get which you'll never get a control on the coons. I mean, that's something that's just not possible, but anytime you can open up more avenues to actually hunting them or harvesting, whatever you want to call it, that's going to help the turkeys in general too.
Yeah, I'm excited. That's only, I'll start scouting probably here in another 2 weeks, maybe.
Yep. I've got a 5-year-old boy and a 6-year-old boy, and they're going to at least the 6-year-old's going to try and get one this year. So I'm excited for it too. We've been shooting the 410.
Nice. Well, that'll be a lot of fun. Let us know how that goes. I'd like to see pictures of that. If you
Definitely
make it happen. Otherwise, you're gonna feel like a big fucking failure. Because let me tell you, that happened to me last year, or a couple years now. Take them out, get them all excited, and then tag soup, baby.
Yep.
And then they look at you
or didn't have opportunity.
Didn't have opportunities.
Really?
Yeah. They get henned up or whatever. And like my kids, I can as long as I've got a bird talking to me, I'll sit out there all fucking day. But to a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old,
57-year-old,
they don't give a shit about that bird gobbling off there. Because I always feel like I got a shot. Like if he's gobbling, we got a chance, boys. And then they just kind of look at you like, you do this for a living, Dad?
Mm-hmm.
So
I've got we've got all kinds of turkey ground we can hunt on. Just guys we waterfowl hunt on, and they're like, we don't have anybody that leases it. Bring your boys out whenever. Now, if I wanted to go out and hunt them or take a buddy out there, it's a different story.
Right.
But if you want to take a kid, they're all about it.
More than obliging.
Yep.
Well, listen, man, it's always great catching up. If you see Luke anytime soon, give him our love, and hopefully we cross paths here soon with you. Be safe this summer.
Sir. Yep. Thank you, guys.
See you, Cody. God bless you, my friend. Take care. Bye.
You too.
Cody Crook.
Good guy.
Fowl Plains.
Yep. Check him out.
He had the ducks this year. Come to find out.
Oh, I knew that. I talked to
Stingy
him a couple
bastard.
times during season.
He didn't send any our way.
Nope.
That is crazy about the speckle bellies being just douches everywhere.
Pat Pivett's onto something.
Oh, well. Yep, I guess so.
All right. Peace. Take care. God bless y'all. Bye.
Yeah. You can leave. Watch for deer. Go check out our sponsors. Go check out Boss Shot Shells, Pacific Calls, BHP25 is our promo code there. Start getting that turkey stuff headed your way. Dive Bomb Industry, Ducks Unlimited, Dirty Duck Coffee, Shin Gear, Looking Glass Podcast, Lucky Duck, Mossberg, MLR Graphics, Stanfield Outfitters, Mallard Bay, and Mitch Hall Chevrolet.